Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are streaming on all social media platforms at Keys to the City. So comment, share, subscribe, or like. What an NBA free agency period it has been, and it's been just only begun, pretty much. This is how it is every year. We'll get into a lot later on in the week. We'll talk more baseball. We'll have the Joseph Aguirre join us again. The trio will be back. Also, we're going to have our list of our favorite. We're going to do something different because we're going to incorporate Ted's favorite thing, one of his other favorite things in the world. It's food. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to have our favorite top 10 favorite football foods. So you got to come
Is that for Friday show?
That's going to be for Friday, but we're also going to have like another top 10 list. Maybe we'll have, I think Joe wanted to do top 10 defensive players. So we're going to do top 10 defensive players. We're going to do two lists, top 10 defensive players and top 10, because Ted is a big food fanatic. You can check him out at Ted's Eats at Instagram as well. I think you should get a Facebook page, bro. Probably should get onto that. But we'll get also top 10 football foods. It could be anything. It could be chips, it could be burgers, it could be wings, pizza. To me, it could be tuna sandwiches, pizza rolls as well as one of my favorites. But we'll get all into that on Friday. So there's a lot of thinking about it. So it'll be interesting on Friday. And like I said, we'll also have baseball talk, New York Yankees, up and down again, COVID, battling with the COVID, and we'll talk some football as well with the New York Giants too. But let's get into the NBA because, well, the NBA free agency period just happened a couple days ago. And boy, oh boy, it's been like hotcakes. Players are going, moving around. And I want to just clarify this, ladies and gentlemen, because Ted was getting a little upset and frustrated like other fans. Every year, we have to understand this. We have to deal with it. We are going to see in the NBA free agency period, guys who are role players, bench players, six men that are going to get contracts that you look at and you're going to be like, how? This is just how the NBA is. It's going to be like that. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to be any different. It's going to stay that way, and the contracts are just going to get even more crazier. We've seen Steph Curry with a huge extension, over $200 million, a second $200 million extension. Trae Young's getting a big contract. John Collins, what's his name? From the OKC Thunder, Alexander, point guard, is getting he got a big
Shai Alexander from Kentucky.
Thank you. Shai Alexander, I forgot his name, but one of the good young players. And for good reasons, these guys deserve these contracts. But there are guys that get contracts and you say, whoa. But that's just how it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's how it's going to be. So we can't complain. We can't whine about it. It's like baseball too. You're going to get ridiculous contracts. It's just how the way the world is working, especially in the sports world. Contracts are just getting bigger. But it's been an interesting so far free agency period. Chris Paul going back to the Suns. DeMar DeRozan going with a signing trade to the Chicago Bulls and then signing a 3-year, $85 million extension. We talked about Russell Westbrook last week. Well, another player is going home, and that is Kemba Walker going back to New York, and they're going to be joining the New York Knicks. I like the move. But, Ted, you've seen all the moves. You've seen the teams that are the Miami Heat, the Los Angeles Lakers, Chicago Bulls, New York Knicks. Some teams that are on the cusp of a championship or making the playoffs. You look at the moves so far, and I wanted to ask you, what has been – and there's been a lot of moves so far in this early on free agency period, and they're going to continue. Maybe more trades. We don't know what's going to happen. Is Bradley Beal going to stay? Damian Lillard. What does this mean for Kemba Walker signing? What does it mean for Damian Lillard? But what has been your favorite move so far of this free agency period?
Favorite move? Well, here's I'll change it. It's not a move in general, but here's what I do like. I like what the Bulls have done with bringing in some veteran pieces, some all-stars caliber. You bring in Lonzo Ball, all right? Nice another point guard to team up with Kobe White. You have Zach LaVine. Now you have the sign and trade with DeMar DeRozan. Now you're talking about a backcourt that can go against anyone in the league. You traded last year for Nikolai Vucek from the Orlando Magic. He's a 20-12 guy every night, and he's an all-star center, one of the better centers in the league. You still have all the draft picks that you've signed. Lauri Marketing, 6'10" outside shooter, wing guy, and then who was the gentleman you said they signed last year from Florida State?
No, they drafted Patrick Williams last year from Florida State, a young athletic.
So you're looking at an abundance of young. Yeah, so you're looking at an abundance of young talent. They haven't made the playoffs in a long time. No one's seen since the Derrick Rose, Noah years. So listen, does that put them in the top 3 or 4? No, but that's going to make them competitive in the East. That's good because you got to look at these. The East is still the Milwaukee Bucks, which are the champions. You got the Brooklyn Nets. The Sixers, we'll see what happens with them. You would assume based on –
they're going to have a whole new look team with – now signing Andre Drummond, and then Ben Simmons is eventually going to get traded. I would be –
I like the Heat, what they did. You bring in Kyle – that's not a favorite move, but it's a favorite move in the sense that he fits their system – and what they're going to do, they just re-signed Oladipo. He'll rehab his leg injury, and he'll be on the team. So now you're looking at Oladipo, Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler. You also have Bam Adebayo. So you got a nice, solid, strong core, very dog-like, gritty, hard-nosed, but really good players. And also it's pretty cool to see Carmelo and LeBron play together in L.A., something that has been talked about before, but now when they're both –
maybe D-Wade comes out of retirement and joins the club, too.
Now that would be –
that would make us official. Even though the Lakers are now the oldest team ever, that could just make it a lot more older. But yeah, you look at this. You look at the teams and the Eastern Conference. Has the Eastern Conference overtaken the Western Conference as the conference now? Because hold on, look at you got the champs, you got the Bucks, you got the
champs are the Bucks.
You got the Brooklyn Nets who are still going to be title contenders, title favorites coming into next year. The Miami Heat adding a lot of depth out of a lot of nice pieces to the great core that they already have.
But they still got to learn how to win.
You also resigned Duncan Robinson to a big contract. That's another contract that you're like, wow, he got 5 years, $90 million. Damn, good for him. He got money. He got paid. Good for him. First undrafted player ever to get a contract like that, by the way. And then you add Oladipo, who at one point was a top 20, 25 player until he had a devastating injury. And then you go get the sign and trade with Kyle Lowry, too. But you lose Dragic. That's fine. You pick up Kyle Lowry, who is a type of dog/alpha. Yeah, you saw that. Saw the comment from Pat. But you see, Kyle Lowry's a perfect fit for Miami. He's got that dog alpha mentality with him and Jimmy Butler. And then you got, the Sixers making questionable moves.
The West is still the best.
They might try. Maybe that's where the Damian Lillard sweepstakes officially become, and one of the favorites now to land Damian Lillard is the Sixers because of the fact that you've seen the Heat. It's kind of like the NBA, the MLB trade deadline, with the Dodgers making the move for Scherzer and Trey Turner. Then the Giants going to make a move. The Padres making moves. You saw in the AL East too.
Would it make sense for the Celtics to go after Damian Lillard with all their draft picks, knowing that they have James? That they need a big guy.
You have to trade Jaylen Brown. Like he's got to go.
Yeah, but they got like 6 first-round picks. They could give up.
If I'm Portland, I don't want just draft picks. I'm asking for a star, and you're trading away a top 10 player to eventually. Who knows? Damian Lillard is a loyal player. He doesn't want to go anywhere. But he's not going to attract any players into Portland. It's just how it is.
So look at that West. Go back to what you said. You said he's taking over the West.
Hold on. I will get to that. But if the teams like you see in the East, the Heat making moves, the Bucks are already the champs. The Nets are going to be there. The Knicks even making a move. The Bulls making a move.
The West is better.
But that's what I'm saying with a team like the Sixers.
The Nuggets are going to get Jamal Murray back with the MVP Jokic. They will be back. They're better than a lot of the teams, the middle of the league. You have the Clippers. You have the Lakers. Now, we'll see what happens
without Kawhi next year.
They'll still be a playoff team. They'll be better than half the teams in the East.
I'm going to be a title contender.
We're not talking about title contenders. There's 3 teams in the East that are title contenders. Maybe 2. Brooklyn and Milwaukee. That's it. I put the Heat a whole nother level below them.
I'm just saying, you look at the
moves. I'm looking at the Lakers, the Clippers, the Nuggets. Golden State should be better once Clay gets back. And if they keep the core of the team that they have with Wiggins and Wiseman, they should be competitive again. You're going to have the Suns. They re-signed Chris Paul. Now they haven't made any moves except for Chris Paul, but if they bring their core back, you would assume with the experience that they developed this year by making the NBA Finals, they should be there. Portland's a playoff team every year. The Jazz had the best record in the East. In the West, in the whole NBA. There's 7-8 teams in the West that are NBA caliber Finals teams. Absolutely. We talked about it when the playoffs are going on. Take away the Nuggets series, there's no Jamal Murray. That would have been who knows? First of all, if Anthony Davis was healthy, the Lakers probably beat the Suns. And if not, then the second round, Jamal Murray, that series could have went 6 or 7. And then who knows what would have happened with Kawhi if he was healthy with the Clippers when the Suns. So you're talking about a bunch of teams that are really, really good. And let's see what happens with Dallas, the Mavericks. Another year with. Let's see what happens. Do they make a trade for Damian Lillard? Do they go after Damian Lillard?
That's probably the biggest question now for me going into this rest of this NBA offseason is where D-Lil is going to be traded, because you thought it was going to be the Knicks. Well, now that Kemba Walker is officially a Knick, that looks like the Knicks could be out of the sweepstakes of Damian Lillard, or we don't know yet. But you look at these teams, like I said, in the East that are making moves. The Heat making moves. The Bucks winning the championship, the Nets keeping that core. Then you got the Sixers. They're kind of there saying, well, we got to make a move. We got a problem with Ben Simmons. It's not working. The process, we've gotten, I feel like, to the peak of the process. It's not going any higher. You sign Andre Drummond, which is a little questionable move at the time. Maybe I don't know what they're thinking at the time.
Depth behind
Embiid. Yeah, also with Tobias Harris, that's another guy that could be getting traded. Damian Lillard, for a team that's on the cusp of trying to be in that title contention, you got to look at even the Celtics too. Those are the two teams you would say in the Eastern Conference. I wouldn't see a team like in the Western Conference making a move for Lillard because, first of all, I don't see Portland ever trading him to the Western Conference. The only two teams I see at the current state right now, to me, would be the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. Two teams that are in that same tier, like you said, the Miami Heat tier, where they're right there, but they're not right there. You make a move like this for either team, whether it's Ben Simmons going or Jaylen Brown going, that's a move you get Damian Lillard, top 10 player. You go from here, you go from a title contender now with that type of move. Well, it's just which team makes it.
And then would Dallas Mavericks make a move for that to help Doncic because he's down
understand that. But what were you giving up? Porzingis?
I don't know. I'm not looking at
his values just drop.
I don't know. Listen, if I'm Damian Lillard, if I'm Bradley Beal, if I'm one of these guys on the mediocre teams that are not going anywhere, I'm asking for a trade, and it's nothing against the organization, but you made all your money. You've made tons of money. You got to go win. I mean, how are we ever supposed to develop an understanding of the caliber player that these guys are if you never see them in the playoffs? I mean, we've talked about this with Joe on baseball about Mike Trout. I mean, they could have the Los Angeles Angels could have the two best players in baseball, and we could never see them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So like, I would say with free agents, I think all the big free agents are off the market. I don't think there's anyone left right now. So it's all about, filling the bench. So I think the biggest moves we'll see going forward, and I don't think it'll happen anytime soon right now, but as the months go on and season, maybe a trade. And you're probably right. Damian Lillard, Ben Simmons will probably be the two biggest names that'll be talked about. Maybe a Bradley Beal gets traded. Maybe not. Maybe the Washington Wizards are like, hey, listen, we got something here. We got a bunch of young players. They started playing better at the end of the season last year.
They made the playoffs.
So
the 8th seed.
So anything is possible. But I still think the East runs through Milwaukee and Brooklyn. And when I talked about this, and I'll repeat myself again, another inch and a half of a toe backwards, the Brooklyn Nets are in the finals and probably in the conference finals and then in the actual NBA finals. I'd probably win the whole thing. So who knows?
This is not just in the NBA. This isn't in all of sports. For teams that are on the cusp of getting that go all in and make those big moves. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a talented team, have all-stars all over the place, but they didn't have the right piece, the main piece. What do? They go all in. They go sign a guy named Tom Brady. The rest is history. They win a Super Bowl. Another team, the Kansas City Chiefs, a perfect example. A team that was right on the cusp of, in the playoffs, a a perennial 10-win, 11-win team, but just couldn't get over that hump. What do? They have Andy Reid. They say, good, let's trade the draft picks. I don't care. We're going to get a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Let him sit. The rest is history.
And they also get Frank Clark, a pass rusher, which they needed after they traded.
I know that, but it's
not. Hold on. And something else that helped their defense, which is a main difference, was Tyrann Mathieu. That might be their biggest move they made since the Mahomes trade. We know about the trade of Mahomes. We didn't know what he was going to be. But when they got Tyrann Mathieu on that defense, it changed the whole defense. It made them much more higher caliber because he can play everywhere and he's a playmaker. We know what Mahomes is, Trev. I know I'm agreeing with you that. But that's not a move like, hey, they went to go get Mahomes thinking he was going to be the best quarterback ever we've ever seen when you traded for him. They didn't know that. But when they traded for Tyrann Mathieu, hey, listen, we talk about this all the time. If you're an NBA or NFL team and you're like this piece, you might as well go all for it because you're gonna have about a 2 or 3 year window to win it all. Look at the Seattle Seahawks.
It's the same thing in all of the sports. It's like that with baseball too. You just saw that last week in the NL West, in the AL East. Teams that are right there in the playoff hunt, title contenders, they went all in to go make big moves because they're in that all-in approach. That's what these teams like the Sixers and the Celtics, two teams specifically, because we're not going to talk about any Western Conference teams. Because like I said, he's not going to – if he goes to a Western Conference team, I'd be stunned. It's going to be an Eastern Conference team. It's just which team. We thought it was going to be the Knicks. They could be out of the D-Little sweepstakes, I should say, now with the Kemba move. Now it comes down to me. It comes down to the Sixers and the Celtics, two teams that we've been talking about for years as, oh, here we go. This is it. They're finally going to get over the hump. And we're here on August 4th of 2021, and we're talking about the Sixers and the Celtics in the same situation they were a year ago, in the same situation they were 2 years ago. It's about damn time. Danny Ainge and Daryl Morey, you guys like to go all in. You like to make big trades. You've done it in the past. Guess what? There's a guy out in Portland who's a top 10 player and probably the best, maybe the most clutch player in the NBA. Yeah, I said that, the most clutch player in the NBA, and Damian Lillard, a guy that's a game-changing type player, and it could be a game-changing player for your franchise. You add him with Joel Embiid, you add him with Jason Tatum. I don't care if you got to give up Jaylen Brown. I don't care if you got to give up Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons. You got to do what you got to do. If you want to win a title, that's what it comes down to. And those two teams we've been talking about for years are still on that level of on the verge of greatness. But they got to have that all-in approach. And we've seen it in the past with NHL, we've seen it in the MLB, and we see it in the NFL. It works out when you go be aggressive. You got to be aggressive. You can't be content. And I feel like those two teams have been content, and they've been kind of stagnant on making these moves because they're hesitant. I don't want to give up Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's a good player. A very good player. He's not Damian Lillard. Ben Simmons is a good defender. He's a good player.
I'm not giving up Jaylen Brown for Damian Lillard. Wow. You can't guard. Damian Lillard's a weakness on defense. Jaylen Brown is got. Jaylen Brown can guard four positions and put up 25.
You're not winning a title.
Jaylen Brown was almost their best player by the end of the season.
I like Jaylen Brown. I like Jaylen Brown. I'm a big fan of Jaylen Brown.
Listen, by trading Jaylen Brown for Damian Lillard, that's not a win for you as the Celtics. That's not a win. That's not a win. That team doesn't get better because you got Damian Lillard. He's a liability on the defense. You're already small.
I can't believe you just said defense in a league that defense doesn't even exist.
Listen, the reason why the Milwaukee Bucks win is because their defense. They were tenacious.
Yeah, but you keep saying the only reason why they won it.
You know why the Lakers? Hold on. You know why the Lakers? Hold on. You know why the Lakers won the year before? Because their defense, Trev. When LeBron and AD were healthy, their defense was top 3 last year. Milwaukee had the best offense, averaging 122 points per game, and they had one of the top defenses. Their defense was suffocating on the Suns. The size of Portis and Giannis and Middleton, DiVincenzo was out, and Drew Holiday caused havoc for the Suns. The defense. Now, yes, you got to score. Listen, all the offense that the Portland Trail Blazers had, right? Carmelo and CJ McCollum and all that, it doesn't make a difference. He can't go. It's like Curry's thing. Great offensive players. I love them. There is a defensive liability, though, because you put him in the pick and roll and you get him in the post. And if he's got to go against bigger, If he's got to go against bigger guards, Kyle Lowry, a bigger guard, bigger physical guard. Drew Holiday, bigger physical guard.
Then let me ask you this question. How have the Boston Celtics done with that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum experiment?
Oh,
have they won?
First of all, Jaylen Brown got hurt this year, and they traded for Kim. First of all, they traded for Kimba and thought it was going to work out. Kimba was unhealthy.
Have they won anything though? This has been years though. I'm not talking about just this year.
They made the finals like 3 out of 4 years. Where are the Portland Trailblazers go? Portland Trailblazers have gone, bud. Nowhere. And Damian Lillard put up 40 points a game.
This is what I've been saying because Portland can't they don't appeal to people. The Celtics,
yes, I know. But
it's more appealing.
Listen, I don't think Damian Lillard wants to play in Boston either. I'll be honest with you. I'm just saying I don't think Damian Lillard and Jaylen Brown even switch. Doesn't make – someone's getting an extra draft pick or something else because I don't think – that doesn't make either team better. I think Portland, you lose out on a star point guard. Who's your point guard? Yeah, you got another good one. Jaylen Brown – but I don't think that makes the Celtics better, to be dead honest. Damian Lillard and Jason Tatum, 2 stars, yeah. But I think they have no size down low, which definitely hurts them. They don't. And the way I look is this: you're competing against Brooklyn and Milwaukee. Who's guarding Giannis on Jaylen Brown was guarding or some? I mean, who's guarding
in the NBA could guard
Giannis? No, I know. But here's the thing: think about the Brooklyn Nets and think about Milwaukee. Big wing guys: Harden, Giannis, Middleton, Drew Holiday. They're all Durant. They're all big wings. The Celtics don't have at least you got like Jimmy Butler and a couple. I can't think of the couple guys. Bam Adebayo and other guys on the Heat that can guard, be physical. Damian Lillard, physical big guard like Drew Holiday. Nitty gritty, can put up 20 points and play great defense. I think Damian Lillard, as great as he is offensively, he's a piece I would like to see in Dallas. He's a piece I would like to see in Philly because they have Tobias here, because they have Embiid, because they have other guys that can defend the wing. You know what I mean? They don't. Damian Lillard for the Celtics. Yeah, that's why I'm giving him draft picks. I'm not giving up the 2 best guys. I don't see it.
If you're Portland, if you're Portland and you have offers like that on the table, you got to consider it because of the fact that, and if you're Portland and you're trying to trade Lillard, you got to be asking for at least. You're not getting Tatum. That's just not happening. If it became the Celtics became interested in trying to make a trade like that, the Sixers are another team. I could see the Sixers being the heavy favorites right now. That I could see them making a move in the next couple of weeks, maybe after the Olympics happen. I could see something brewing with that going on. That's what I would say. It's been a hell of a free agency period so far. We're going to be back Friday. Like I said, we're going to be talking about New York Yankee baseball and the battle with COVID again. The Yankees can't figure it out, but they have a nice pitching debut last night by Lucas Gill. Nice. I like it. I know it's against the Orioles, and the bats finally scored 13 runs. My God, it's amazing what the Yankees can do when they hit the ball. But the Yankees are still battling COVID, and they're still going on and off. We don't know what to make of it. That Anthony Rizzo trade has been great. And also, we're going to have our top 10 defensive players brought to you by Joseph Aguirre because he's the one that came up with that list. And we're going to do it because it's for Ted's Eats. We're going to have our top 10 football foods. That could be anything. Could be anything. I'm very curious to know. Yep. When we get hungry, we watch football, what do we like to do? We like to eat. We like to drink.
And order Antonio's.
And order Antonio's or Chinese food. Chinese food could maybe be on the
Chinese is for Sunday night football.
Yeah, see, it's still football food. You never know. But we're going to be back Friday better than ever. So stay tuned for that list. I hope everybody has a great week. We are Keys to the City. We're streaming on all social media platforms at Keys to the City. So comment, subscribe, share, or like. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are out.
Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we're unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.